Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog, and welcome to a very special review, as we're taking a look at the all-new 2020 BMW M850i Gran Coupe. Now essentially this car is the flagship for all four-door sedans in the BMW lineup, and I have to say, this car looks amazing. Now in a very competitive Grand Touring segment with competitors like the Porsche Panamera, the Maserati Quattroporte, and the Mercedes-Benz GT53 four-door, let's see exactly where the M850i Gran Coupe fits in this segment. Now before I get into this review, I'd like to thank Herb Chambers, BMW Sudbury, in Sudbury, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive BMW inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right into this review. High-end Grand Touring cars have become an influential segment in the automotive industry, and the Germans have been at the forefront of this market for over the past 10 to 15 years. It could be argued that the traditional luxury sedan has evolved into being sportbacks, where interior comfort, additional legroom, and rear cargo room help to make the driving experience better for all occupants of the vehicle. These cars are the best alternative to luxury crossovers, but more importantly, they bring the performance of two-door coupes and the practicality of a sedan to make the ultimate year-round Grand Touring car. As for recent history in the BMW lineup, it started with the 6 Series Gran Coupe, and today it continues on wearing the 8 Series badge. Sharing the same striking road presence as the two-door variant, the M850i Gran Coupe sits atop the BMW lineup as the flagship of the brand for passenger sedans. A sleek, aerodynamic, sporty, and luxurious design come together to make the Gran Coupe one of the more handsome cars in this segment, as even today, the Porsche Panamera and the Mercedes-Benz GT53 four-door could be considered an acquired taste. Not surprising is the change in dimensions from the coupe to accommodate rear passengers, as an addition of 9 inches in length, 2 inches of height, and 1 inch of width will provide more head and legroom inside. Road presence is obviously one of the most important aspects of cars in this price range. Yes, performance and driving comfort are top priorities, but you also want to turn heads while driving down the road. Where the M850i Gran Coupe stands out is the conventional design of a sedan, but still incorporating a sportback rear end that makes these Grand Tours so desirable. Competitors may have more futuristic and hatchback-like rear ends that aims towards a certain demographic of consumer, whereas it could be argued that BMW is sitting at the top of the list for overall design for traditional high-end luxury four-door sedans with the M850i Gran Coupe. Coming standard, the M850i sits on 20-inch wheels, which you'll have the option to choose from a variety of designs, but if you prefer driving comfort, BMW offers 19s as well. Active kidney grills, an M-rear spoiler, power folding side mirrors, and a 2-piece panoramic moonroof help complete the overall design for the Gran Coupe. Particularly for the moonroof, the 6 Series would only allow you to tilt, unlike the 8 Series which slides open, making long drives in the summer much more pleasant. For performance, the M850 will get a 4.4-liter V8 engine that puts out 523 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. BMW claims that the M850 is capable of a 3.7 seconds 0 to 60 time, while Car and Driver clocked this Gran Coupe achieving a time of 3.3 seconds earlier in the summer. Regardless of results, we're looking at a sub 4 second car to 60, which is astonishing considering the size of this vehicle. For the drivetrain, all-wheel drive comes standard for the M850i, but if you prefer rear-wheel drive, you'll have to choose the 840i. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive 17 miles per gallon in the city and 25 miles per gallon on the highway.
Alright, so the way I feel with a lot of my reviews, especially with test drives, is that you're not going to understand how the car drives and handles in a 15-minute test drive. But what I will say is how this car feels. Now, if you think about it in terms of length, this car is longer than the Ford Explorer I reviewed 2 weeks ago and about 3 inches shorter than the BMW X7. But it's also 3 inches thinner than the X7, so it's not a very small car by any means. You can definitely feel the weight here. It's like 4,700 pounds. This car is massive, but one thing I will say though, being behind the wheel, you definitely still have that sporty aspect that I had in the 3 Series a few months ago. So it should be noted that the BMW M850i is one of the more powerful cars in its segment. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you guys are going to be commenting, well, what about the GT63 4-door and the Porsche Panamera? Well, actually, the GT53 is the closest competitor in terms of pricing. And you're going to get a V6 out of that, and you're also going to get a V6 out of the Porsche Panamera. If you're going to spend $155,000 on the V8 for the Panamera, you might as well consider the M8 at that point. Now, just like with all the new BMWs, it has that burble to it. I love that. It does not matter whether it's the 330i or the M850i, it just sounds amazing. And it's something that BMW's been doing a lot with their vehicles, and I think it's just really awesome for car enthusiasts, especially where a lot of brands are kind of going away from that. And I felt in a number of my reviews that BMW is going back to who they were when it comes to driving experience, especially where if you look at where they were maybe 8-10 years ago, I don't think we'd be talking like this, especially for a bigger car like this. This car is actually rather fun to drive. Now, I could point out all the safety technology that is in this car, but we already went over that in the 330i back in February, so I'll leave a link in the description below for that video. You can check out what the car is capable of. It's self-parking technology. It's really cool, and this car has all of that. Now, for a vehicle of this size, its steering is on point. I feel like I'm in a much smaller car than I really am. It's really very easy to adapt to, especially where I'm used to driving a small car all the time. So this is nothing different. I don't feel like I'm straddling the line when it comes to being on tighter roads. It just feels fun. It just feels really fun being behind the wheel of this car. 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Now, Car and Driver said they clocked this car doing a 0 to 60 of 3.3. And I truly believe that, because if you think about it, the M340i I reviewed earlier in the year had a higher and faster 0 to 60 time than BMW was posting. So I totally believe it. But one thing I will say is that when you do get on this car, you can totally feel the weight. It's definitely not like the small cars I've driven before. One thing that definitely puts a smile on my face, though, is that this car is the great alternative, or the best alternative, to a crossover. Because think about it, you have a Gran Coupe, you have a lot more room for passengers in the back, you have more cargo room, and it's more fun than a crossover, you know? I mean, I've driven big crossovers in the past, but this feels right. It feels natural being behind the wheel of a big car like this, and you don't get that swaying motion that you would get in a bigger crossover. And that's one thing I really like. And again, I come from a small car. I drive a small car all the time, and this is very easy to adapt to. So I'm totally enjoying my test drive of this M850i. Now, before I end this test drive, I just want to say, it was like driving a cloud. This car is just so comfortable to drive, and I'm in sport mode too. Now, you can downgrade to 19-inch wheels to make the drive a lot more comfortable, but to be honest, I think the 20s work just fine.
Inside, you're greeted by merino leather heated and ventilated front seats for both the driver and passenger. You'll have a variety of color choices to go with for the leather trim, which this model being equipped with the understated yet classy night blue seats. Optional, you can get color-matching Alcantara headliner to have a unified interior design, which is a $650 option. Interior-wise, not much differs from most new BMW models, besides some added luxury and comfort features like heated armrests and temperature-controlled seats that will either heat up or cool down based on the desired temperature you set through the infotainment system. In front of you is a 12.3-inch digital information display that will come standard on all M850i Gran Coupes. Behind the wheel, drivers will also have a head-up display that will show your speed and traffic sign recognition. Moving over to the infotainment system, a 10-inch touchscreen will come standard as the M850i is equipped with BMW's iDrive 7 system that will also offer Apple CarPlay. Using the rotary dial and touchpad, you can navigate your way through menus, or you can use the quick access buttons to keep your eyes on the road, and it's usually the more convenient way to get the display you want to see. With any vehicle of this size, camera systems are important, and this Gran Coupe is equipped with a 360 top view and 3D cameras to go along with your rear backup camera with trajectory. As always, you'll have different driving modes to choose from, and all the buttons can be found on the center console. Below the touchscreen, you'll find the buttons for your dual-zone climate control and heated seats, with a very similar layout to all new BMWs. 2 cup holders can be conveniently hidden, and inside, a wireless phone charging pad is out of sight to help give the interior a more sleek look. For the center storage compartment, you'll find plenty of room for an additional smartphone or other small items, and you'll also get a USB input. Now for passengers in the back, they're going to get plenty of legroom. The driver's seat is adjusted to my height, so obviously there's going to be a lot more room here. I still think that for somebody who is about closer to 6 foot, they're still going to have a little more legroom. Now, the difference between the Gran Coupe and the Coupe is about 7 inches of rear legroom. So if you do want to have passengers in the back of the car, the Gran Coupe is probably the better option here. Now, I have never seen an 8 Series Coupe owner have passengers in the back, so I don't think that that's something that most owners of an 8 Series is concerned about. But if you do plan on having family members or friends or anybody in the back of the car, the Gran Coupe is probably going to be the best option to go with. BMW states that you can actually have a 5th passenger here, and you do. There's actually an extra belt buckle here. But if I'm the owner of this car, there is no way that I'm having a 5th passenger back here, because there is a center console for passengers in the back, where they can adjust their 3-level heated seats and their dual-zone climate control. And there's also 2 USB outlets here. So for me, as a driver or owner of this car, there is no way that I'm going to have that 5th passenger. And if I'm the 5th passenger, I am not going to be very comfortable because my legs are going to be spread out, with one leg being on that side and one being on this side. So despite BMW saying that you could fit 5 passengers or have a 3rd passenger in the middle, that's up to you guys, but in all honesty, I wouldn't want to have that 5th passenger, and if I'm the 5th passenger, I'm probably not going to be that comfortable. So at least for me as the passenger on the left side or even on the right, I have my dual-zone climate control, I have my heated seats, so I'm very happy. Now, unlike most cars in this segment, the Gran Coupe, despite wearing the Gran Coupe badge, is really more like a sedan rather than a hatchback. Now, one thing I will say is that if you're not a big fan of the designs of the Porsche Panamera and the Mercedes-Benz GT53 4-door, then you're probably most likely going to want the 850i. More like a traditional sedan, but has a little bit more room. Now, with the Gran Coupe being 1 inch wider than the Coupe variant, you'll have 1 cubic foot more of rear cargo space. So it's just a little bit more practical. And then, when you're done, just press the button, and the trunk will close automatically. Alright, so we are now inside the BMW M850i, and I want to give my impressions on the car and really about the driving experience more than anything, because the layout of this car is pretty much the exact same thing you're going to find in other BMWs on the market right now. It has a 12-inch digital information display, it has a 10-inch touchscreen, it has the exact same button layout as all the new BMWs, has the heated steering button right on the steering wheel, which a lot of BMW owners like the fact that it's right there now on the new ones. You have paddle shifters, of course, and it has the exact same safety technology and camera systems that you're going to find in other BMWs as well, which is why we didn't demonstrate that in this review, because you can check that out in the 330i review I did back in February. But button layout below the infotainment system is the exact same thing. Layout's pretty good. All the buttons are exactly where you want them to be, and they're clearly marked. But one thing I will say is that for a vehicle of this size, now it's about 3 inches thinner and 3 inches shorter than the X7, you don't really feel it, in all honesty. It still feels like a car, which is one of the reasons why
I do like the Gran Coupes and the Gran Tours because you don't have that sense of being in a really big vehicle. Crossovers still have that tendency where you do feel like you're in a bigger car, probably due to the fact that it's higher up off the ground, but you still have that feeling of like, I'm in a really big vehicle. In this vehicle and in this car, in the M850i, it's actually rather comfortable to drive, very easy to adapt to, which is most important. Coming from a small car that I drive on a daily basis, this doesn't really feel that much bigger. And that was something I was a little bit concerned about because I don't drive big cars all the time. But it is very comfortable, very easy to get used to, and to be honest, it's gonna be very hard giving the keys back to the dealership on this one. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed my opportunity testing out this car, and that's what's most important in this review, is really to check it out. Something I really wanted to see the minute I saw it at Cars and Coffee last week. And really, once again, huge thank you to BMW Sudbury for allowing me to this review. They're one of the best dealerships I've ever worked with when it comes to reviews. They allow me to check out the cars really right after they arrive at the dealership. So definitely give them a like and follow on Facebook and Instagram. They're always posting some cool stuff, and they're gonna have the M8 soon, which is gonna be really awesome, and hopefully I get my hands on one of those soon. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.